everybody, it's Kaylin here at Full Purpose and Heart. In this video today, I want to share with you a little science unit that I did with my kindergartner. This is like a plant life cycle unit that I did here in our homeschool. It's easily transferable into a classroom setting, and I think it could probably be modified for somebody in a preschool age group. And it could also work pretty well in a first grade age group. So this is a really great, just fun little activities that I did. If you're interested or you yourself are trying to put together a little plant life cycle unit, stay tuned and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's talk about science. This particular unit, I got many of my ideas from the Carson DeLosa Interactive Notebook from their science section. I grabbed 2 activities from there and then modified them for myself. But the ideas, some of the ideas did come from here, the first couple of pages. I did do a curriculum preview of this activity or of this particular book. So I will make sure to link that in the eye. Why can't I ever know what corner that goes in? Anyway, so I'll link it in the eye and you can watch that if you want to see what kind of pages are in here for that. So anyway, most of my ideas started with this. So the first thing that we did when we started our unit is we wanted to talk about alive versus not alive. And this is an idea that came from the Carson DeLosa book, but I modified it briefly. I got a piece of construction paper. This printout came from the interactive notebook that I just showed you. So I just printed that off, but you can just make that on your computer. It's no big deal. And then I had my son draw some pictures of things that he thought were alive and not alive. And then on the inside, again, these are pieces that you can duplicate, but I got them from the Carson DeLosa Interactive Notebook just because I felt like it was easier. Let me get that close there so that you can see. On the alive side, we just talked about a thing is alive if it can breathe, if it can move on its own, if it grows or changes, and if it needs food or water. And then we went through a magazine and just cut out some pictures of things that we thought or that were actually alive. The other side is the opposite, so it says does not, and then it we just cut some pictures out from the same magazine that were not alive. And we just did 3 and 3. So that was just a fun introduction. I did this with my preschoolers, so ages 3 to 5, as well as my kindergartner who is 5. So that was a great introduction to our plant unit. The next thing that we did, while we were doing this unit, we were kind of in an apples theme in our school. So a lot of activities like our math centers were apples, and we were doing some literacy. I was teaching about Johnny Appleseed for our social studies, so it kind of all fit into what that we were talking about plants. So the second activity that we did was this plants needs, and this is the one that my son made. And then each one lifts up plants need soil, plants need water, plants need sun, and the last one here is plants need air. Now I'm going to interject here 1 minute. So I want to interject and say something fun that I like to do instead of just having my child create it himself. I like to do it with him for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's fun to do. I like to create these types of things and do them with markers and whatever. And secondly, it kind of gives him an idea of how to create something. Being in kindergarten, he hasn't done this before. So I feel like me showing him how to do it, he does duplicate what I do, but it also gives him an idea of how to create something. So in future grades, when I say, okay, we're going to create whatever, this visual, then he'll have more of an idea of how to draw a picture. So anyway, here's my picture. I have the soil, the water, the sun, and the air. And I noticed that as a public school teacher, I taught high school 10th grade, and many times one of the things that we did as a reoccurring activity is we would take a section of the book that we had read, or the chapter. I taught history. Did I say that? I can't remember. Anyway, so we would take a chunk of the time period that we were studying, and each of the students would then read this paragraph, and then they would draw a picture or something to kind of show what the paragraph was about, and then they would write like 3 key facts or if it was a key term or something like that. This story has a point, I promise. So anyway, my students would do this activity And sometimes their posters would come out and they would look really great and they would have a great visual that went along with it. But more often than not, I felt like students didn't know how to create some kind of simple visual for whatever that they had just read. So translating that to my kindergartner and this wanting to duplicate what he's doing or do it with him, I feel like in doing so, A, it's fun, but B, I think that I am teaching him how to create a visual based on something that we have read or something that we are learning. So in this particular instance, we talked about what a plant needs, and we looked at a couple of books that had pictures of plants, and we read a couple of stories about plants growing, and then we went and did what plants need. So from that, I showed him, okay, they need soil. Instead of just drawing a bunch of brown all over the paper, let's make it more of a visual. Okay, so that was a really long explanation, but I do like to do it with my son at this age level. So that was the second thing that we did. The third thing that we chose to do was to plant seeds. So these are black-eyed peas that I just purchased we have a store that sells things by bulk. So I literally grabbed like a little handful. I only wanted a couple because I was going to do it with my preschoolers as well. So I wanted like less than 10 black-eyed peas. I didn't want to buy a whole bag. So anyway, I just got a couple. These are just plastic bags with like the seal top. And then it can be like a zipper or it can be the clasp. It doesn't matter. This is one, it's like a half sheet, I guess, of paper towel. And I put it in the bag damp. This was 10 days ago. It is still damp, so you don't have to continually be adding water to your seeds if you haven't done this experiment before. Then you just stick the black-eyed peas in there and then they will grow. Any bean seed will work. I just chose this one because it was easy to find. Anyway, so this is after, I guess it's been about a week. I guess it's been a week, 7 days. So we put this in and it has been growing kind of slow, but it's kind of fun to watch. So anyway, we planted the seed, and if you haven't done this experiment before, 5 days, I'm just going to give you that little tip. In 5 days, then you will start to see the stem grow. You can kind of see this one has a stem. This one kind of stopped growing, but so did this one actually, but you can transfer them into a pot if you want to. Anyway, sorry, I got on a tangent, but 5 days, after 5 days, then it will start to grow. So I made this little plant observation page, and I put the little baggies on there since ours were in a bag, and there were some on the internet that had like pots, but I didn't put mine in a pot, and I wanted to show that on this paper. So anyway, here's my plant observation journal, and then we had bags kind of going along, and then each day he drew what we saw. So that was kind of an ongoing thing, but we started that the third activity. The fourth activity that we did was we were talking about apples, and so we had this little rhyme or this little poem, and we like built a poem out. The poem says, plant a seed. Let me start over. The poem says, eat an apple, save the core, plant some seeds, then grow some more. So the front here, this is just a clip art of an apple, and then I put the little poem down here. That's just like a Word document. That was really simple. And then in here, this was like he had to build it out, so it had a little bit of memorization. So I had this all together, and then he had to cut them apart and then put them in the right segments for the poem. And then here we drew a picture. Here's the core. Here are the seeds, and then grow some more. So again, it kind of goes with the plant unit because we're talking about grow the seeds and how plants grow from seeds, and we can eat plants, some plants. Anyway, so that was the next activity that we did. And the last activity that we did were the plant life cycle. Let's see, where does it start? Right here. So this is the plant life cycle. Now this is 2 paper plates. I put a little hole in it and I put a brad there, and then I cut a little triangle out of one so that we could make 4 segments. Now again, my son is in kindergarten. I know that you can build this out to have like 8 steps to the plant life cycle, but because I was just in kindergarten, it was kind of an introduction to plants and that sort of thing. So anyway, here's mine, and then here's my son's. Guys, I kind of loved it. So I wrote my cover first, and then my son tried to copy the text that I had used, or just the font that I had used. And I loved it. Again, kind of going back to that story with my high school students, I don't think some of them just never really knew how to like make a cute poster. And yes, my son is male, so maybe it's awful to say, but as a teacher, it felt like the females were the ones that really made the posters look nice, and the males were just kind of like throwing them together. Not on all counts, but it seemed more often than not. So anyway, I just really appreciate it. I thought it was cute that he was copying me, and I really feel like he was learning how to like make a cute poster or make a cute visual. So anyway, I'll show you mine just because then you can read it. So here's the seed, and then it turns, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Turns into a sprout, and then it goes to the seedling, and then we talked about what is the root and what is the stem. So you can see that, that's what's written there. And then the last one, I'm sorry guys, this is hard to do backwards. I'm like looking at the video instead of trying to pay attention. Anyway, here's the plant. And then I should have labeled them with my son and have him put like roots, stem, leaf, flower, whatever. And then when we did this particular one, we talked about plants that you could eat, plants you don't eat, and just because we can't eat it doesn't mean it's not a plant. So trees are plants, but we don't eat trees, and grass is a plant, but we don't eat grass. But sometimes fruit grows on plants. Anyway, so that sort of thing is what we talked about. Anyway, so that was our little plant unit, and it was informative and it was fun, a very brief introduction. All of these activities are easy to duplicate, so hopefully they were an idea for you or something that you can do just with some supplies that you have at your home, construction paper, marker, and a couple plates. And if you want to grow some seeds, that's also really easy to grab. You just get a couple seeds from your pantry, and it doesn't matter, just any bean seed will grow. Another kind of little idea that I didn't do, but I read about, was that if you soak a seed, the first seed, soak it overnight, then the next morning before you and your student plant seeds, you can take the seed that you had soaked and cut it in half, and you'll be able to see inside the seed and the pieces that are going to grow, and that it's more than just a bean, it actually has something inside of it. So anyway, then you can plant your seeds or put your seeds in your bag, and your student can watch them grow as like a little science experiment. So anyway, very fun unit, easily transferable. Hopefully these ideas were easy for you to kind of absorb, and then you can modify them for whatever age group or however many students that you're using. I will say that I did this activity with my preschoolers, ages 3 to 5. They really enjoyed it, so this is good for preschoolers. And the life cycle plates, I think that it would be more difficult for my 3-year-olds to be able to draw the seeds and actually understand the life cycle, but the older preschool students would certainly understand, and everybody loves to plant seeds and watch those grow, so that's good for all ages. So anyway, if you have questions, leave those in the comment section below, and if you have comments or if you have anything else that you want to share or add, I would love to read those. Like this video if you liked it, and make sure you subscribe for more tips and tricks of the teaching things that I'm doing at home, as well as any other information that I love to share on my channel. So thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you on another video.